Kick looks all right. Joe Danaher standing up in the big moments. Those that were here will never forget what they saw. Brisbane just had unfinished business to attend to at the MCG.
The Lions produce a domination to make the golden era proud. The premiership is going back to Brisbane.
From walking on thin ice to dancing on the mountaintop, the Brisbane Lions never stopped believing.
It is the Brisbane Lions Fancast. It is the first episode for 2025. We are back. Our premiership defence starts in just a couple of weeks' time with our opening round game against Geelong at the Gabba. The flag will be unfurled, but before we get there, there's a couple of pre-season matches, one official, one so not official. That's coming up next week. We've got the Indigenous round to talk about, but it is good to be back. Patrick, look, we've got a lot to catch up on, not just football-wise, but personally as well. It's been nice to have a bit of a break, but it is also equally as good to be back.
Yeah, it's not bad, isn't it? It's like, what's changed? Not much. I got a different background.
Yeah.
Had a move in the off-season. Haven't really kept up with much. Just been kind of watching those lace out the prelim final and all that sort of shit multiple times. Yeah. So I think we probably have to do like draw straws for what's your favourite commentary thread for those games. And
those links did get around over the off season. I tell you what, because the Lions share also shared that post, and I was dealing at the Google Drive links left, right, and centre over the last couple of months for people that wanted the alternative commentary. Hey, I tell you who else is back for 2025, and a massive shout out to our sponsors again. Crisp Communications and Hop On Brewery Tours have jumped on board again for 2025, and a massive thanks to both those guys for their support, not just last year, but continuing again for this year, helping keep the podcast afloat and in your podcast feeds, whether it be Spotify, Apple, or on YouTube, if that's how you choose to watch it. Really great to have those guys back for 2025, and a massive thanks. So great to have those guys back on board for 25.
Thank you very much. Not that I didn't. I mean, I'm thanking them. I don't know why I seem to think like you were. I'm out of form. Holy shit. Yeah,
let's kick off the rust in this one. There might be a little bit of umming and ahhing and all sorts of stuff as we get back into the swing of things, but in a brief 30 to 60 seconds, how has your last couple of months been without footy?
Busy the last couple of months. Sort of started working to... Well, no, it was the tail end of the job last year. Started a new job. Moved. Yeah, lots happening. What about you?
Fairly settled in comparison. Just sat back and watched a bit of cricket over the last couple of months, had a bit of time off work, spent time with the little fella, and just getting settled into 2025. Watched a little bit of footy over the weekend, which we'll have a chat about very shortly, but yeah, nothing outrageous to talk about. Just, largely been kept occupied by the cricket and the tennis.
Lovely. Awful sports, gotta say. You'll be amazed to learn that I've not really watched much Premier League. I haven't had the time.
That is crazy.
So it's just been the highlights for me because I haven't been able to sit down for 2 hours. So it's what happens when you take over a struggling cafe and have to work literally every day for a 6-week period. So that was fun. If you're ever on your way to Port Arlington, drop in. Details will come out some other time so I don't get fucking murdered or something. So, cool.
All right. Well, we have just got over a little bit over 2 weeks until we are back at the Gabba to start our premiership defence. Geelong at the Gabba, as I said, they've got a team that's got a few changes. Who knows what sort of team we'll put out on the park. We're going to do our best 23 for round one or opening round next week. A little bit of a cheat there because we'll have a little bit of footy to base our opinions off, I suppose, with the game-ish thing on the 20th. But we have had a little bit of footy this week. The Indigenous All-Stars game on Saturday night over in Perth. Now, I know you weren't able to catch this game.
I did watch the highlights, though, about 2 hours ago.
Look, I don't know what I was expecting from it. I guess in my mind I thought, oh, this is going to be, it's an exhibition game. I'm hoping for just like all these magical highlights, hangers and goals of the year and all this sort of stuff. But it was really not that.
It seemed a bit tepid, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was strange. There was definitely some highlights, but it wasn't, chock-a-block end-to-end highlights for the whole thing. Most importantly, Charlie Cameron and Cal Archie got through the game unscathed, so that's a tick in the box there. That's a win.
Yeah, it was hard to kind of get much of a read on really what happened. I mean, they didn't feature. I don't think I saw Callum Archie in the highlights at all.
Well, he was played down back. He was played out of position. Well, out of position. He has played down back before, but he was played out of position and undersized as well for a lot of the time. He was manned up on Luke Jackson for a good portion of the second half as well. So,
well, what a start to the season for him. Who was coaching the Indigenous All-Stars?
So Xavier Clark was head coach, and I know Sam Mitchell was part of the coaching group. There was a few of them, but Xavier Clark was taking the reins on that one. And after the game, Justin Longmuir came out and said that he wanted Fremantle to play a very vanilla brand of football because he didn't want the competition to get a good look at what Freo's going to produce. And, obviously the feedback of that has been, well, okay, you've been playing vanilla football for 30 years, and Justin Longmuir, who is completely devoid of a personality, is Captain Vanilla. So, yeah. But I must say, when Freo had the ball, it really was like a case study of talent versus system or structure. And when Freo had the ball, they looked the better team. Clearly, the Indigenous All-Stars were literally just relying on talent, and they got the win fairly easily by 8 goals or something in the end. That forward line was just stacked with Cozzy Pickett and Willie Rioli, Jason Horne-Francis, Charlie Cameron was in there, Jesse Motlop was floating through. There was just 7 or 8 small forwards, and I think the only tall forward there was Finlayson, who had very little impact. He was in trackies by the end of the game.
I think it's going to be a false economy for a lot of people that sort of want, fewer tall forwards and whatever. But Pierce didn't play, I'm assuming.
No, he was injured. He was due to play for the Indigenous All-Stars. But he was injured and he got replaced by Joel Hamling, and I didn't see much of him across the night. So,
well, I mean, that would have been funny to have I know Sarong exists, but basically they're two best players, Bolton, Pierce, and then the captain, Walters. But I know he's probably not in their best Fremantle, but kind of funny. Shea Bolton moves to Fremantle, immediately plays against them.
Yeah.
Cool. Good job, man. You've really nailed the assignment there.
Look, it was a bit of fun. Yeah. And I just can't help but think 10, 15 years ago, imagine watching this game with Cyril and Buddy and Eddie Betts in their prime. Would have been much better.
Yeah, but I mean, is what it is, I guess. We're sort of here doing it, and I mean, it's good to get a bit of run into a couple of our blokes and get them through. Hopefully Charlie can have I not to say he didn't have an impactful year last year, but it was probably his least impactful year he's had for us, except for the one where he, broke his foot. But we'll see. Yeah,
well, this is what I sort of came to realise over the course of the Saturday night, is maybe we need to let go of the idea that we are going to get the Charlie Cameron moving forward that we had in the first 4 or so years, where it is the highlights package and he is more of a role player and he's up the field a little bit more, and he's more setting other guys up rather than providing the highlights, the goals of the year. And he has lost a yard of pace, and maybe that was due to the fact that Link McCarthy was out last year, and the fact that Saturday night, as I said, was chock full of stars, that he wasn't able to shine as brightly as we know he can. But he set up some great goals, and as well as kicking one of his own. But it will be interesting to see, if and when Link comes back into the team, what sort of structure happens there, because, you're not dropping Kai Lohman, you're not dropping Charlie Cameron, and Link McCarthy is, of the knees, the one pressing his case the most. He's back on the track, back in full training, and sort of due to be back in the team in round 0, round 1, whatever.
It is an interesting thought, and I think we quite heavily thought last year that with Lohmann coming into the team, he kind of took the de facto Charlie Cameron role in terms of like just focus on what you're doing and don't worry so much. Yeah, I know he talked a lot about the chase and about the defensive pressure, but Link McCarthy is such a heavy structure player for the forward line and had been beforehand, and I think Charlie Cameron grew a lot and probably learned a lot in that year, a lot more than possibly in years prior, but. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're all good problems to have. So, and we saw last year how important the squad is in terms of throughout the season and players coming in and out. And, not always is the round zero team or your first 22 that line up on the field, like that can change throughout a year and you can have guys contribute, which is where I think you get unlucky guys that don't get a medal at the end.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Might be getting ahead of myself there. So
yeah, well, it has been a bit of a strange preseason. The injury list has been long. There's certainly been our fair share of guys in the rehab group this preseason. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of impact that has as the season goes on. As we know, it was a lengthy season last year for a lot of our players. 27 games, a lot of them played. So we are going to need that depth of squad working for us this year. So we had up to like 15 or 16 players in the rehab group at any stage in the off season, and the news that as I shared in our Discord chat is that we won't be seeing Kitty Coleman anytime soon. He's had a few setbacks with that knee and he's on the TBC side of the injury list, so we're going to need Zorks to back up that All-Australian year for a while.
Yeah, there's an element of it of we all want to see Coleman back. Zorko had obviously a fantastic year, and it's kind of a bit. I'm expecting a little bit more from Connor McKenna this year as well. I know he pinch hit up top in the forward line in the intra club. We'll probably get into that at greater detail. I say in inverted commas, which is a reason why you should watch the YouTube just to see my snarky little face, get a bit of a read on what I'm trying to say and how much of a shit-eating grin I have. But, the Coleman one's not great, but it gives Zorko a chance to back up after last year. And, if you're going to have someone that was a breakout player a couple of years before, have an All-Australian come out of Zorko last year, then you're not in a bad position, really. There was interesting things. Kane Corns, how I've missed him. But at the same time, man, that guy can be exceptionally frustrating. I find him a lot less frustrating than some. And in the same breath, when he's talking about the preseason and the injury crisis and the reasons why, and then to have that kind of validated by some of the high performance managers, it's quite good. It's good reporting. Some of the stuff he was saying about us and our salary cap stuff, which we will probably get onto later. Are you dense? Like, what are you talking about? Come on, mate. Do your job. So I think on the whole, the AFL is struggling a little bit because I think there's a lot of onus on the players and they're not coming back quite in as good a nick. And I kind of feel like having less time off probably allows them not to get doughy, as Nathan Buckley said last year. So hopefully there's less time for them to lose that fitness and they come back in like reasonably good shape. So we'll see. I'm pretty confident. I think it could be a good thing.
One thing I did notice about the Brisbane Lions off season is there were very few travel snaps. There were very few.
I knew what you were going to say before you said it.
Group travel snaps. So whether that was after the grand final and they had their exit meetings, there was a general, hey, everyone sit down. Hey, if you're gonna go away on a boys' trip, can you just just pull your head in a little bit and make sure nothing comes, because we don't need any more distractions flowing into the next season. We've got a premiership to defend. Or maybe that was a decision made by the group that, hey, let's just keep things local. Like, obviously some players went away. Like, there was a couple of trips to Europe and, Southeast Asia and all sorts of stuff, but there didn't seem to be a designated footy trip.
It's good. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about it because, we all, long time joke, I'm not on social media at all. So I know nothing and I see nothing. And I'm quite happy the way that is. It adds an element of mystique to these footballers that otherwise would not be there. It's like living in the 90s. But no, that is kind of relatively good to hear. But we'll wait and see. If we're zipping 5, I'm sure they'll dig something out, which isn't to say that last season was completely fabricated. I was very hard on the fellas. Gotta go back and listen to some of that shit. I was a disappointed boy. So that's good. That's good. But hopefully they're all feeling good. And hopefully they got the Lee Matthews treatment of, watch out, guys. And I don't necessarily buy into the idea that now that we won the premiership, we are now the hunted, because I think it was put really well by, it might even have been Dunkley or even Harris that said, we've been hunted for years. We've been a good team. We've been up the top. We've been hunted by teams a lot. So the preparedness for that is probably a good thing, because I can see them continuing to be a good team for a long time. So
yeah, especially, and obviously something we'll be chatting about, maybe not necessarily this episode, but over the next couple of weeks, if we can land ourselves a key forward moving forward, that really puts us back up, in that upper echelon. I think regardless. But
Brooksy, where can we find any salary cap space for that?
Who knows?
How is it possible? We must be cheating.
We'll have to take the Geelong method of offering house and land packages, or third-party jobs over at finance companies or whatever it is. Look, while we're chatting about it, I guess the big rumour across the last month or so is that we've been linked to Oscar Allen. Now, this popped up last year as well, and obviously it's since been revealed that the Brisbane Lions had a chat to Oscar Allen last year. The name popped up about midway through last year as a long-term prospect. Darcy Fogarty's name also popped up. That sort of just kept simmering away, but he's since gone on to sign a multi-year deal at Adelaide. So, look, it doesn't seem likely. The bloke grew up in West Australia, barracking for the Eagles. He's the West Coast Eagles captain. It seems far-fetched, but I guess it's something to keep an eye on throughout the year to see where his contract is, how many games they win, and what sort of headspace he might or might not be in as well. And injuries is another big one for Oscar Allen.
Yeah, well, I hate speculative trade nonsense. It's one of my least favourite times of the year. But, I mean, no smoke without fire, I guess. Yeah. In terms of this one. We absolutely heard it and we're like, this is the most rub dog thing we've ever heard.
And I'm still in that camp at the moment.
But there's validity to it. And whatever a conversation is what could it have been? It might have been how you going. But not likely. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I think this year will be an element of trying to find and trying to pluck maybe someone that's a kind of a second forward. So maybe not the main one, and trying to pluck someone like that we can then get to do a role. So, food for thought. It's a hard thing. Yeah. Joe Danaher's a weird cat, and I'm definitely going to miss him playing football because I think it was weird and fun.
Yes, definitely. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times with Joe, as we know. And that's obviously going to be a huge talking point throughout the year, I'd say. And we're not going to spend every week talking about the Joe-shaped hole that's left in our squad. But it looks like, going on this intra-club form that you sort of touched on before, Connor McKenna was the standout for the first game. Sam Day really put his name forward in the second game. He kicked, I think, 4 goals and sort of 4 or 5 direct goal assists as well as playing that backup ruck role that we know we need, which is a big part of the Joe role. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does line up for round 0. I think Henry Smith is still the long-term prospect, but he's had off-season surgery. He hasn't really got a crack at it this pre-season. Ty Gallup has also performed pretty strongly in the second intra-club as well, and he was playing against our first-string back six.
He did a Logan Morris.
Yeah.
It was funny to see how stories get embellished over time. I think it was he did the similar to Logan Morris, who kicked 7 in an intra-club last year. It's like he didn't kick 7, but Cool. I love it. Love the enthusiasm. I love how these things gain legs. Interesting to note that Fort played first ruck.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in the Bs. So I don't know whether that was just a team chemistry thing or whether that's kind of the hierarchy at the moment. Don't know. Don't care.
I don't think it's the higher. I think it's still Oscar coming back from the shoulder gear. So there's a few that had shoulder surgery. I think Henry Smith may have been one of them. I'm not sure if he was shoulder or something else. But, Oscar, Levi Ashcroft was another one. Like I said, there was 15 or 16 doing various rehab. I mean, Huey was part of that. Obviously, Eric with his groins, Lockie with his foot, has spent time in and out of rehab. So it doesn't make for a super consistent preseason, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got off to a slowish start again. Having said that, we've got West Coast and Richmond in the first 5 weeks, so you could... I'm not going to say it.
You never know. I mean, the thing is, we know relatively what to expect.
Yeah.
Based on last year, we last to leave and more or less the first to show up the following year. What's one day? And although it didn't read well for certain injuries, I think they were kind of freak occurrences more than anything. It wasn't as if our injury list was super soft tissue-y in terms of comparatively to other teams. It was kind of freak occurrences that were happening, like someone had been stabbing a voodoo doll in a knee nonstop. So don't do that, whoever's doing that. It all came good in the end.
Yeah, and it looks like most will be sort of available within the first 5 weeks, with Kitty being the exception to that one.
In all honesty, I was expecting more to be out for the beginning of the season. Like, I didn't expect to see I didn't expect to see Lockie, didn't expect to see Eric, and we might not, amongst some others that I can't quite remember. But I think it's healthier than it could have been. Yeah,
there's definitely going to be a bit of wait and see, and I think a few of those questions. Well, I don't know. I mean, this game on Thursday night between Gold Coast and Collingwood, I mean, I don't know how that's going to be structured, first of all, whether it's going to be like 6 quarters, as they say, and then you'd play like 2 each against different teams, or I dare say that will be majority. You're going to get your Jimmy Tunstall's playing those games, your Devs, maybe your Zane Zakastelskis.
Nice one, dickhead.
You're going to get your...
You were good on that one. You were good on that one last year, and you fumbled at the first hurdle here.
Zakastelski. You're going to get those guys playing that sort of game. It won't be until the following week where we play Adelaide where we're going to get more of an idea of our first available team, I think. But it will be interesting to see how the Ty Gallops play on Thursday night. And Logan Morris has put on a couple of kilos. He's got a year under his belt. A proper full preseason. Yeah. And what's exciting is it's Will Ashcroft's first proper preseason as well. Like, he got drafted, so you didn't get the full preseason. And then he had a knee, so he missed out on that one. Comes back, wins a Norm Smith, as we know, and now he's got a full preseason under his belt. So, not to heap a bunch of pressure on the kid, but that's a scary thought.
Yep. Yeah. Oh dear. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about them all? But yeah, I think we just have to put out 23 blokes against Geelong, and it's not as if Geelong really had that much more time off than we did. So what was it, 1 week?
Yeah, the extra week, yeah.
And they've got a few younger blokes and whatever, but they've still got some old heads there. So yeah, let's kill them. Just kill them.
Well, we've got a couple of weeks to worry about that one. Next thing we should probably have a chat about is, and I'll sort of mention one of them there, but the players that we expect to make a bit of a leap this year. As I said, Logan Morris, he's one of the ones due to, or is he going to succumb to the second year blues? He's put on a fair bit of size. The competition's had a year to work him out. He didn't perform out of his skin in the finals, but performed his role, kicked a couple of goals. It'll be interesting to see what we get from him this year. Darcy Wilmot, another year in the system. Jasper Fletcher again. Will Ashcroft, as I mentioned. Is there any names you're really looking forward to seeing what they can do this year?
Yeah, but it's not a young guy. I'm looking forward to seeing what Tom Doedee does. And I'm just curious to see what that adds to the back line. I think it would be kind of low-hanging fruit to say, like, yeah, you're keen to see what Lohmann does, or, you know, we kind of know what they're going to do. But of the very, very new ones, I hope Marshall gets a game at some point.
Yeah, he's I guess because all the chat's been about Levi, like the Sam Marshall role, probably along the wing if he gets a game, what he can produce.
But it's hard, when you got a really settled team, it's really hard to kind of pick where these things are going to come from. Last season, I don't think anyone really expected that we would see the level of like Bruce Reville or Logan Morris or even, Kyle Lohmann to the extent that we did throughout the year. We hoped, and, I was pretty cynical about that at times, because it's hard to judge someone when you haven't seen them play properly. What did I say last season? I was keen to see what Harry Sharp was going to do, and he kicked two really good goals, or one really good goal and contributed to another. But that was about that. Don't worry about him. But it's hard to say. It's so settled. We've talked about this before, but I'm really excited to see Jasper Fletcher again this year. I think anyone that thinks he's going to be on the fringe of the team is out of their mind. He's going to be wearing number 3.
That is strange, isn't it? That is strange.
I mean, 3 is always going to be Voss's number for anybody. I know Joe wore it, but it's always Voss's number. And it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. So I'd say, yeah, Jasper Fletcher to continue on, because I think he's super consistent. I think he's very underrated, and I think he works hard, and I think he's a lot more talented than people give him credit for. So,
well, I mean,
Tom Duday, Marshall, and Ashcroft. Not Ashcroft, the other one. The third Ashcroft, Fletcher.
Well, to throw it.
What about you, man?
Just to build on the back of that, yeah, Jasper Fletcher. You know that I work quite closely with someone that works with the club. Jasper Fletcher did not have the same off season that a number of others did. He spent a day drinking before he went straight back into training. He said a day of drinking was enough to celebrate the grand final, and then he was back in and straight back into off-season training, doing extras because that's how he's built. He's got a dad and a mum, both elite athletes, and he wants to leave no uncertainty when it comes to his spot on the field, because he knows that Levi Ashcroft's going to come in and Sam Marshall, and they both play midfield inside outside, and his spot could be up for grabs, and he didn't want to leave that up to chance. So I know he has been working his backside off to make sure that he's staying out there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it comes to the detriment of forging like meaningful relationships with his teammates, because he can be a bit quite sort of tunnel vision, hyper focused and serious. So he doesn't really have that sort of the Cam Rayner, jovial style to him at sometimes. But ultimate professional.
It takes all sorts to build a team.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, particularly us, we've all watched the three-peat stuff where they, mind mapped where all the players were in terms of how they were, socially and within the team and things like that. And, there are a lot that were similar, but there were a few outliers. You look at Nigel Lapp and Simon Black and stuff. They were Ackermanis, seen as pretty weird dudes in terms of the group kind of makeup, but you need that level of difference, because if one, two, 3 guys look at that and go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll just do 2 days, or 4 if they were going to do 10, or that sort of stuff. So the knock-on effect can be huge, and I think it's a really good influence on some of the younger guys as well. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Jasper can do as well. But yeah, as I said, sort of Logan Morris is probably the one I'm keeping an eye on to see how he improves. Well, his role is going to change, you'd have to imagine, with Eric potentially being the number 1 forward for a few weeks at a time, and if he's underdone with his groin, what sort of effect that has on Logan's role. Link McCarthy, I'm really looking forward to seeing him back in the team in some aspects, and what effect that then has on Cal Archie, who obviously played his best football forward. Is he going to get, sacrificed again and shoved down back and play that versatile role? But yeah, Connor McKenna as well. Injury sort of start to the season last year. He was one of the best on in the first game, as was Dev Robb and James Tunstall as well. So I don't expect Jimmy Tunstall or Dev Robb to be playing a huge amount of footy this year, if at all. But it's those sort of guys, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have that problem. You know, if you got the twos guys pushing really hard, it's always like they say, if you're a ruckman, you want to have a good second ruckman to keep you kind of honest in training.
Yep.
Because if you've got, you know, someone and then someone that's garbage, you know, you're not. What's the point of training other than to keep fit?
Yeah.
So, if you've got Tunstall and Dev, and you know, we know that Dev Robb would be perfectly fine at AFL level at a lot of other clubs, which is insane that he didn't go. But
it is weird, isn't it? Well, I mean, he was starting 22. He wasn't even the sub in our grand final in 23. He was on the field. So, it is one of those. Yeah, it's the luxury of having the depth that we've got at the moment, and we do have a question from Ross that we'll get to later on in the show. We should touch on and briefly, without sort of going into too much detail and speaking shit we don't really know a huge amount about, but obviously the sad passing of Troy Selwood and Dale Tapping last week. Now, within the space of 24 hours, just two guys that meant a huge amount to the club, especially. Dale Tapping, we'll start with the start of our build under Fagan, immense for that midfield group. And it was a real shame to see him go down to Essendon when his dad got sick and he moved back to Melbourne, and we got Cam Bruce in. It was like that felt like a big loss for our team at the moment. Dale Tapping, he was really doing good things with that midfield. Yeah,
it's something that probably has gone a little bit under the radar for me, just because I think at that time I wasn't sort of super involved in the minutiae or the goings on of management and the coaches and things like that. But yeah, it's sad to hear. And to hear that it was kind of it wasn't drawn out, but he'd been sick for a while. So it's never a good time, I can, safely say. So, that was not ideal, obviously, but, thoughts go to the family and
of course. And he was,
etc.
Not even 50, I don't believe. So that is, way too young. And of course, Troy Selwood, who we would have seen play. We spoke about him on this very podcast a couple of years ago when we did our... What was it?
Well, it was Nostalgic Players.
Yeah, that's it. Our Nostalgic Player of the Week. And we spoke about, one of his final moments on the field where him and Rance got the double KO, and just typical Selwood bravery, head over the ball. And that incident happened a couple of weeks after he'd already been knocked out as well. So...
Yep.
Just one of those guys that was drafted at the wrong time, at the back end of our premierships, and got stuck in a team that was just rubbish for a few years. And a great servant. And from all accounts, you'd never heard a bad word about him.
There's a lot of, having just moved down to Geelong, there's a lot of people that are, it's kind of table talk almost. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are asking my opinion because, somehow people know that I'm a Lions fan, which is, how would they know that? I saw a piece from Geelong Grammar because he was doing a bit of development stuff through there, and you imagine that would have links through to the Geelong Cats as well, and even the Geelong Falcons. Just the community is small, so it means that it's quite a large impact in a small space. Not a great time, all in all.
No, and it sucks that you sort of, these moments come as the reminder to check in on your mates, talk to your mates, talk to a professional, talk to your family, talk to your friends, your support network, whoever they may be, and it's okay not to be okay.
They reckon this game doesn't take courage, Matty Lloyd. You were out there last night. That is why when you walk across the white line, you are as brave as anyone going around. This is a really nasty clash.
Selwood and Rance, just a clear clash of heads. And Rance was immediately knocked out, and Selwood is not much better.
Obviously, a very sad time for the club in a lot of different ways. And it was, this time last year, maybe a little bit before, we lost Nicole Duncan as well. And I know the club felt that immensely as well. So it's... No more, please.
Nah. All in all, though, in terms of... I hope that there's a nice gesture on opening round. It's a perfect two teams.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, definitely. and whether that comes in, as part of the flag ceremony, if it's separate. I hope there is something, a moment of silence and some armbands and things of that nature for opening round, which is, as I said, just over 2 weeks away. It's coming around very, very quick.
Yep. Have you been keeping track of that folk fella on Reddit that's like doing the Guernsey numbers?
Yes.
Every day. It's yeah. He burned me big, hey.
Yeah.
I get in at about like day 45.
Okay.
And I said, tomorrow's going to be fun. Can you please put both Wilmot, because he wasn't doing multiple people.
Yep.
I said, I want a split screen of Wilmot and Nigel Lappin, but I want it to be random dreadlocks Nigel Lappin. And he didn't do it. So that's bullshit.
Fair enough.
I've kind of...
That was a weird time, wasn't it, dreadlocks? That was towards the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like 2007 or something. So
that was a strange call.
But yeah, then he copped out and did like 4 44s, which I suppose is kind of cool in its own way. Lots of 4s, but whatever. Don't need it.
Hey, some exciting stuff and something I've been waiting for any sort of movement on over the off-season is the Fox Footy documentary that is coming out 4th of March, Dancing on Thin Ice, which I think we all thought was going to be the title.
No, we had some shout-outs for There and Back again.
That's right, yeah, but this is... Dancing on Thin Ice wrote itself after that whole motif that came through about halfway through the season. This is obviously going to be great. Because I remember this time last year where there was all this, the Collingwood one, they were all sitting there watching the grand final together, and the Take the Stairs gear that they were all having a chat about, and I was like, can this Collingwood premiership piss off now? Now it's our time. Now it's our time to bask.
I don't think I watched that because I didn't want to watch some people I didn't like be happy. So
I didn't watch it.
I didn't even hear the Take the Stairs thing. I don't know.
I just remember, in amongst AFL 360 and all that sort of stuff, it's like, and don't forget tonight after, talking to the journos, we've got Take the Stairs, and it was Craig McRae talking about...
Take the Stairs?
Yeah, something about, I don't know. Whatever...
I understand what the expression is.
Whatever it meant to them is what the Thin Ice
expression
gear.
Of... Yeah.
Whatever the Thin Ice gear means to us is the stairs for them, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, arguably Take the Stairs makes a bit more tangible sense to people that live in Australia rather than ice, given we have none, but particularly in Brisbane. But yeah, looking forward to it. There's been some really nice videos that have been put up on YouTube.
Yeah, that sort of, was it like 20-minute, half-an-hour doco by Jess King that she put up?
Yeah, I don't
really
know.
good.
Yeah, it just randomly pops up and you're like, who is this person? They've done nothing on YouTube except these 2 Lions videos, and they're great.
Yeah, and it would have taken so long to collate all that gear.
Yeah, so absolute kudos, and they picked some excellent commentary moments.
Yep.
We've also just generally in the Discord, I mean, it's happened like twice, so I can't say continuously, but we've just been throwing up clips of like, I like this bit with this, I like this bit with this is good, more of this.
Yep.
So, now... in the off-season, so there's been, although not much footy, there's been a lot of movement in the media landscape. What has your general thoughts been on that, Senor Brooks?
I'm going to miss Footy Classified a lot, I think, is point number 1. Let's see what Channel 7... There's a few shows that Channel 7 has slated with I think the agenda, and... It looks like Kane Corns is going to play a big part on Channel 7, and yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to produce. Generally speaking, I've not really watched much channel. I didn't watch Talking Footy. I'm not a front bar guy either. So I guess with the new broadcast deal, they had to really start putting stuff out there to be competitive, because now people have got the option of choosing Anthony Hudson and Jared Waitley on a Friday night, or BT and James Brayshaw, and I can tell you fucking which one I'm going to be tuning into.
Hey, well, it's not going to be BT and Brayshaw. They've split them up.
That's right, yeah.
So it'll be probably Brayshaw and Nicholson.
Yeah, Alistair Nicholson, I don't mind. He's good.
I mean, he's all right. He's no the other fellas that we like, Brenton Speed and the other guy.
Jason Bennett, yeah.
Yeah, Bennett and Speed, they're good. But at least because I think Channel 7 are doing a show after the final game on Sunday. So we'll have something to fucking watch instead of the bounce.
Yep.
Which we don't watch.
We don't, but I will say we did have a number of people tune in to say they do watch bounce.
Who and why? And when and what?
Families.
Yeah, I guess. Just watch The Simpsons. Like,
look, I'm not
late.
I'm not gonna. You know, if that's your choice on a Sunday night is bounce, then fine. It's not my bag, but okay.
There's a lot of choices people make that you're allowed to be unhappy with, and that's one of them for me. So,
yeah. Look, we'll see. The one I'm probably annoyed about, and this has just been announced in the last couple of days, is the round so far team has changed, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, Kane's been booted from that. So I think he's still got Beveridge or whatever his name is. And
Riley Beveridge.
Yeah, and then I think it's Cal Toomey, but the two new additions are Kate McCarthy, who I quite like. She's good. Yep. But then Xander Maguire, Eddie Maguire's son, is taking in that fourth position.
Bit of Nepo.
Yep. Yes.
Love a bit of Nepo, don't we?
Look.
I mean, it is what
I'll still watch it. I'll give it a go, but I do. Yeah, I did like the old formula for the round so far on a Saturday, like a midnight Saturday night.
Just the old, like, poking your phone and it just pops up randomly.
Yep.
Like,
that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. Like, the Fox Footy stuff could be terrible. You know, Gary Lyon and Jared Waitley. We know what I think about Gary Lyon.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Don't like it. I find him insufferable on the couch. Although his premiership window thing at the end of last year was fantastic. Because, he had every right to do that, to be honest.
Of course he did.
But on the whole, he is pretty insufferable. And I don't know, on the couch with Jack Riewoldt.
Yeah, look, I don't mind. I think Jack's a pretty good media performer. And to be fair, I don't really have too much of an issue with Gary as well.
I probably would have sooner taken Jack on 360.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the move. I really did think that was going to be the move. But I think maybe they're trying to make Couch a bit younger, as it were, and leave 360 to the older heads. I mean, we can all agree, for all of Mark Robinson's foibles, I did like the fact that 360 was not two ex-players. They were just genuine fans of the footy, and they were so polar opposites. Like, we just had this nerd and this alcoholic, but they both had one thing in common.
Yeah. I thought that last year was Mark Robinson's best year that I'd seen, probably in the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah. I thought he was like, he didn't encroach. He didn't say anything that was like insanely dumb, like he's inclined to occasionally do. And I think it's probably because he's trying to cut back a bit on the booze. But I thought he had some really good moments. He had some really, he like stood up for certain things, like the stuff with Luke Beveridge and things like that was really interesting, really compelling. And it was a bit unceremonious, the way that it kind of all.
It was piss. Yeah. It's like he's
he's given everything up, now. He's kind of not doing Herald's Sun, which is, I'd never read it anyway, so whatever. But it just seemed like it kind of took the wind out of his sails, because he had a pretty rough run. I think his father passed away. He's obviously had the heart stuff, but he's a character, Gary Lyon's not a character.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it will take some adjusting. And like I said, I really did like the complete juxtaposition of those two. And I don't know, it's almost as if Jared didn't really go into bat for him. And I've obviously got no idea what happened behind closed doors. But it was all of a sudden he just wasn't there for the grand final review. It was just Jared and Jack Riewoldt nothing mentioned until the very end where Jared's like, thanks, Robbo. It's been great.
Yeah.
Fucking catch up.
Which is, I feel hard done by. We didn't get our Jared and Robbo on the couch.
Yeah.
Premiership one. That's a bit weak. But I think the interview he gave after that, where he didn't mention Jared at all in his thanks, and I don't know whether that's because their relationship is supremely good or whether it was kind of guilty by omission. He talked about what a knob Glasses Hawthorne is. Can't remember his fucking name. Jordan Lewis. Yeah. So yeah, he mentioned he didn't quite like that after I think he called him out on something. Speaking of Hawthorne, I have a funny text message to read you. So I was out and about yesterday. Got this message from my partner. Let's see if you can pick what's wrong with it. Not wrong with it, but still funny. Nope, that's too... So it says, that magician kid from Hawthorne is here. Lol. What an absolute dwarf.
Yep.
No context out of nowhere. I have no idea where she was.
Doesn't need context, but I think we all know. Did you see the hanger he took, though, in an intra-club or whatever it was? It was pretty good.
Was it over a Hobbit? Nah, didn't.
It was pretty good.
Actually, no, I saw some Essendon one.
Yeah, okay. Now, credit where it's due for Nick Watson. It was a huge hanger in an intra-club.
But the magician, I was like, it's not it's the wizard. The Wizard of Waverley. Not the magician of, I don't know, fucking mid-east Melbourne. Like, the sorcerer of South Yarra. There's heaps to go off here.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be...
The Warlock of Warrandyte.
No, that's Robbo. Look, they're going to be a team to watch across the year. We're not going to be doing any top 8 predictions or ladder predictions or any of that sort of gear. But one thing we will be doing for 2025, and something you did mention, footy tipping will be here this year, the Brisbane Lions Fancast footy tipping competition. As soon as we're allowed to create that, and we have looked into it, it's not open yet. And in fact, I'm going to do this in real time right now.
I've been on your back.
Hey, hold on. We could actually be on here. We could actually be on here.
Well, don't give it away.
Oh, we are on here.
Okay, cool. That's good. Well, I can confidently say to anyone listening, I will never not tip the Lions.
Right.
I don't care if we're playing astronauts in space without spacesuits. I'm tipping the Lions. I don't care. It's a simple truth with me in tipping. I never tip against my team.
Okay.
So this goes back to school tipping competition of the 2006 World Cup, where I refused to tip Italy instead of Australia. And I did not win that tipping competition because of that. And I'm okay with that. But I will never forget those people that tipped Italy instead of Australia. Bastards.
Okay. Well, I cannot promise that I will be tipping Brisbane each and every week.
Yeah, that is so you. You would hedge your bets, you little wiener. Come on, man. So anyway, I'm excited to do this because I talk a lot of shit and we'll see how we go.
All right. Well, in real time, we do have a tipping competition. I'm creating it as we speak right now. I'm clicking.
Could you not just do this afterwards?
I could, but this is gripping. All right, so for those of you playing, for those of you listening that want to get involved, listen very carefully. This is the comp code you need. YK64WVCF. That code again.
Can you do it phonetically, please?
No. YK64WVCF. Look at that. We're in. And
how am I supposed to know what it is on like a horrible radio signal in the 70s?
I'll be sending out links, don't worry, across our socials and all that
Kilo,
sort of
stuff. Number. Victor, Charlie, something. Foxtrot. I can't remember. If I remembered that, that's
you were pretty close, yeah. You were dangerously close. You missed out on the W, and obviously you said number instead of 64. But the rest were there. There will be a prize. There will be a prize, and
Will there?
At this stage,
Will I be eligible to win the prize?
potentially, probably not.
Okay, cool.
There will be a prize,
Scrap the whole idea. Scrap the idea now. If I'm not eligible, I don't want a bar of it.
and that prize will most likely, at this stage, be a Devon Robertson signed Guernsey.
Cool.
Because I got 2 of them.
Yeah. So also bear in mind as well, I will be doing my tips live before the round on the podcast.
Okay. Jeez.
So
Early tips.
Actually, early, and it's also going to... The only caveat to that is that if I'm somewhere near the top by the end of the season, I'm not going to do that in case the person who's second just does the same thing that I do. Or if I'm second and they're top, I'm not playing those games.
Now who's hedging bets, mate?
I'll hedge your bets.
All right. Well, the tipping competition is now live. I'll put all the links up across the week for those that you want to get involved. Like I said, there will be prize up for grabs. So that's exciting.
Beautiful.
Because what do we? It's Sunday night now, and we checked it on Friday, and it wasn't
Sunday
available.
night. We might not even be able to do it, but I'll just loosely pencil them in. I'll grab this mechanical pencil and do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Beautiful. What else did you want to touch on this fine week?
Look, probably not enough at the moment. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking about our starting team for opening round. We'll have a chat about anything that there is to chat about in this tri-series game between Collingwood and Gold Coast on Thursday. There will be some talking points out of that. Hopefully, no ACLs. That's
What the fuck?
You heard me knock on the wood.
Yeah, but I don't care. The thing I'm most curious about this tri-series game is whether they play like all 3 teams at the same and put like a third end on the field. I don't think they're going to do that.
I wouldn't have thought so. No.
Maybe they'll surprise me and make it like a trio, like triple threat game.
Yeah, look, I've got no idea what it's going to be. My guess is going to be it's going to be sixths, not quarters. And say we play Gold Coast, and then Gold Coast or us stay on, and Collingwood come on. Someone takes 2 quarters off, and then comes on and plays.
This is way too complicated. Hey,
that's the easiest way I can think of doing it. And then there's going to be like those 5-minute drills, I reckon, thrown in there as well.
Oh, like where they go like there's 5 minutes left. Like
you're up by 3 goals, you're down by 3 goals, that sort of gear.
God, why do they have to make it so mechanical, like this pencil that I've got? Like.
I've obviously got no idea what's going to happen on Thursday, but I'm going to watch it regardless. It'll be available on KO, I believe. So that's exciting. And then the following week...
unfortunately got to get a subscription to that hot mess again.
Yep. And then we've got the official preseason match against Adelaide the week after to look forward to. And then by then we will have a better idea of what we're looking at for opening round, which will be just around the corner at that stage. What I do have...
So we're not travelling to Adelaide, are we?
No, I believe that's at Brighton Homes. So,
thank God, because that would be really, really harsh if we were having to travel to Adelaide in our pre-season.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're the premiers, you get to just pick whatever the hell you want to do.
I do have a question for you.
One of them would not be Isaac Rankin running into Starcevic, so we don't want that.
No, we will chat about Stars next week as well with contract news.
Yeah, do we need to?
Yes.
Do we need to?
Yeah, well, a bit of contract news.
I mean, we
obviously.
should, but do we need to?
Kai Lohmann, another 2 years, which is great. Who was, as we know, this time a year and a bit ago, he was this close to leaving and going to Essendon or Hawthorn or wherever it was. Now, 4 goals in a premiership. He signed a contract extension, so that's bloody brilliant. Only a couple of years, which is good. I'm glad we didn't fall into the, hey, let's hand this man 5-6 years. A couple of years seems good.
Yep, it works well with just kind of balancing the books and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's all right. We got a lot of talent and we got a lot of people, and maybe St Kilda need to look at the way their team are. If we've got the same salary cap as them and they're awful. So.
All right, well, we do have one question this week, and this was unsolicited from Ross, who is a big fan of the show. All right, boys, a couple of weeks before we have another crack, I've watched the final series about 10 times. I think the words, the lines, just had unfinished business to attend to at the MCG will live with me forever. One of the great lines by Alistair Nicholson, by the way. He says, and this will feed right into you and your life. Anyway, been watching EPL to fill in the time, and Arsenal, your sport, your team, seem to be having a similar season. Plenty of unfortunate injuries and sometimes can't put the net ball in the net. Anyway, my question to you is, as the Lions have considerable depth in the squad, do you think Fags should be rotating players around similar to big EPL teams to allow for some player recovery and also to keep a larger number of players engaged, or will this upset the team balance and understanding between players? Love the pod, Ross. Go.
That Ross Mick?
Yes.
Ross MC?
I know this is your wheelhouse.
So I've been talking about this for years, that they should be doing this, that they should have a rotating squad, a bit the way Geelong have done it in the past with their aged list. Reduce the loads. And yes, but holy shite, if you want to see a bad injury list, Arsenal, 27 injuries this season. So currently without 5 of their forwards, 5 of 6. So they're playing like a 17-year-old kid.
That's what you want.
Who has a beard, and he's really good too. So, he's fun to watch. But, yes, we should be doing this. I said we should be doing this last year. It's how you can squeeze people like Wilmot, Zorko, Coleman, McKenna, all in the back line. Horses for courses. Change things up. Don't put unnecessary load on players. They talk about the red zone and stuff like that. But unfortunately, Arsenal are doing it in the wrong order.
Yeah, and I think Fags has sort of spoken about this a little bit since the premiership. Is generally he's been a best 22, same 22, continuity, gelling of the team, all that sort of stuff. The understanding connection between players. If that's available, that's what he'll go for. But obviously, we didn't have that luxury last year with injuries, all sorts, and it means we got games into Bruce Reville and Shadow Brain and Logan Morris sort of probably ahead of schedule, and guys like that. And I think he saw that and came to understand that it probably wasn't a bad thing and it was actually quite beneficial. I don't think
it added necessary freshness at a time when we could have just locked the doors and gone, okay, well, shit, we've had some injuries. Let's just put Darcy Ford and let's just stack the team full of experience, Jared Lyons. Let's put them all in there and just go conservative. They were like, nah, gunslinging, let's do it.
Yeah. You've got to do it right, obviously. And last year was obviously fly by the seat of your pants type operation. And like I said, out of necessity, you don't Logan Morris playing a game of VFL in the Maccas and not wearing his right boots and all that sort of stuff is probably not the ideal scenario, although it makes for great, folklore. If you do it right, I think it can be beneficial for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that had Logan Morris turned up to his first game like that, I don't think he would have played too many games if it had been scheduled.
Yep.
So. But no, I agree with that assessment, and I've been championing that, and I think it's something that we might see a little bit more of, particularly with the state of injuries and things like that. We talked a long time about our drop-off between our best 22 and our 23rd and our sub. We don't have that problem anymore. Our best 22 goes, I would say, 27, and that's completely arbitrary without any research, but I'm going to go with it because... look at our grand final team and go, who was missing from that team? O was missing. Danaher's obviously gone, so O comes in there. Link McCarthy, Gardner, Duday, Coleman, Levi Ashcroft. There's a lot of players. Reville. They're good players. They can fill a role. They can play well. It'll be all right.
They're AFL quality players for sure. It's just... I don't know. Long term, it's just weird because this time last year we were saying, look, our back six, we've got Duday, we've got Lester, we've got Gardner, we've got Payne, we've got Harris Andrews, we've got Wilmot, Zorko. Our back line is stacked, and then you get to that game against the Gold Coast and Eric Hipwood's playing centre half back, so you never know what's going to happen, eh?
Yeah, if you're the best back line,
We're
just try and take it away from us.
We're sitting there praying for Darragh Joyce to be fit.
Yeah, that was amazing, hey. what a guy Darragh Joyce was.
Is.
I mean, he's is, you know.
Yep.
But in terms of just like the happiness that he showed, and I think it says a lot with teams. And we might as well end on this. It says a lot, the reaction of players that are fringe players or bench players or role players that are not in the team, and how they react to something like this, to winning a premiership. And it says a lot, because sometimes you can get people with a chip on their shoulder that go, oh, we won, but I didn't contribute, so who cares?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Darragh Joyce was a good example. I remember seeing him running crazy, having a good time with, you know, Jack Payne and Connor McKenna and stuff. So good.
Absolutely.
There's a lot.
All right. Well, it's good to be back recording. The podcasts will ideally, you know, unless anything unforeseen happens, we'll be back in your podcast feed each and every Monday. Once again, a huge shout out to Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications for jumping back on board for 2025. The support means the world. So, and obviously for everyone listening, it's good to be back, and we look forward to seeing what sort of roller coaster of a season we have. Because if last year's anything to go by, we're in for another one, I reckon.
Yeah, no, just nice and easy back to back will do it.
Famously easy.
Hey, we're as close as we'll ever be to going back to back. Said that at the end of last year. Stick with it now.
Righto.